Good afternoon and welcome along to Betting Weekly WTA Show. I'm Nigel Seeley. I'm delighted to say joining me to look ahead to this week's tournaments on the WTA Tour is our senior WTA Tour handicapper. It's Rory Jiwani. Rory, good afternoon to you, sir.
Afternoon, senior and only
Well,
WTA Tour.
did I say senior?
And
I
old.
got seniors, senior citizen, which I refer
Yes.
to in my case, not senior in terms of that. How's your week been, mate? All good?
Oh, yeah. We had a bit of a near miss in Thailand with one of the Wangs, Yafan
Yep.
Wang, reaching the semis, but she went out to your pick, Lin Zhu, and then she lost in the final to Deanna Schneider, who would have been a fair old price at the start of the tournament. It's, I have to say, it's not the most entertaining on court. So slow. It's just drawn out rallies, waiting for mistakes. Not too many winners. Not a great watch, but we got to run for our money. Hopefully next time we make the final and actually cash a bet.
Yep, near misses in China, near misses in Thailand. Something that I've had a few times in my life, but a few things. But that's
Let's
for
not
another.
go there.
That's for another show. Yeah, I'll tell you what. The other tournament as well, obviously in Linz in Austria, that was interesting. Ostapenko won the tournament, but the interesting point was that we spoke about Clara Towson. Someone we highlighted who could go well in the tournament. She had a match point against Ostapenko. I bet her win the tournament 20-1. Absolutely sick.
Yeah, I bet her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit sick. It was a cracking game. I mean, the final set, Ostapenko was brilliant. When she's in that mood, she's very, very hard to beat. And she was saying actually in the interview after the match that she hadn't long arrived from Australia. She hadn't had much time on the court to get used to it. So, it was a really good performance, and she won the final comfortably today. She's in excellent form. She's going straight to Abu Dhabi. She's not stopping. Surely it's got to catch up with her at some point, but she is in excellent form.
She looks in good condition as well. We spoke about her last year, and she struggles a little bit of her conditioning. I saw her in Miami, and she didn't look at all fit, but she seems motivated. She looks fit at the moment, so expecting good things heading into the French Open, the next major on the clay court season as well. For Ostapenko's,
she's won the French, of course.
Yeah,
so
she's a quality player. This week we've got two tournaments, Rory. One of them is an WTA 250 event in Transylvania, and the other one is a 500 in Abu Dhabi, as you said. We're going to start with the 250 event, and that's obviously in Romania and Transylvania. Very famous for Dracula, obviously, and vampires. So who are you going to get your teeth into this week? But before we go into the outright market, let's give us something about the conditions, and we'll break down the draw and look at the best betting angles. What are the conditions like here in Transylvania?
Well, it's indoors, so that helps.
Right.
Not too many outdoor conditions to consider. It's strange because this was in October last year. It was a very weak tournament, with it being at the tail end of the season. Tamara Korpach, the German, beat Gabriela Rusa, home player from Romania, in the final to win her first WTA title. It's no stronger this time. Arantxa Rus and Tatiana Maria are the top two seeds.
Incredible.
You would be moaning the quality of last week's fair. Yeah. I mean, obviously, the bigger names are in Abu Dhabi, so that explains it. But so a couple of weeks ago, or 2 or 3 weeks ago, when I was looking at the entry list, Karolina Pliskova was sort of pegged as the number one seed, but she slumped down the rankings because she went out in the first round of the Australian Open to Elena Rybakina. She's now unseeded. 2022 winner Anna Blinkova is in there. Of course, she beat Rybakina in Melbourne. She's the third seed. Promising French youngster Clara Burel. She knocked out Jess Pegula in the Australian Open. She was in the draw, but she's a late withdrawal. I think she's still on the old list, the futures list. So you can scrub her out. She was a late withdrawal with an abdominal injury. There's also Anastasia Sevastova, the Latvian, who's back after giving birth, but she hasn't played since December. But the main one to watch and the favourite is the one we were just talking about, Clara Towson. And she's got what doesn't look too bad a draw. She was actually going to play Burel in the first round, which would have been interesting. But with Burel's withdrawal, she now plays Nadia Podoroska, which is much easier. The Argentinian's a real clay court specialist. I mean, we were looking at Hua Hin last week in Thailand, slowest court conditions of the year. It's not much quicker, this one, despite it being indoors, unbelievably. Judging from the qualification matches that I saw, not much has changed. You can hit winners, but tends to be long rallies. Strange thing is in 2022, it was much quicker. It was a sort of medium pace. It wasn't too slow, but it went really slow last year. So, I mean, having a powerful serve is always an asset, especially if you're accurate. You get it in the corners. But the most important thing is to keep the unforced error count low and create opportunities and then hit the winner. Because if you're going for too much, it's just going to come back at you. You can't afford to go for your winner really early because it's so slow. It's just going to come straight back at you.
Let's have a look at the draw. And as you say, it's not really the most exciting of draws. Rus is the number 1 seed. She's in the top half of the draw, and she's seeded to play Bogdan, a local player, obviously, the Romanian. Is going to be very popular with supporters. Podoroska or Towson, obviously, that's the big game of the first round. Podoroska is the number 9 seed who's now been projected into the seedings because of the draw of Burrell. She plays Towson, who's the tournament favourite, which is amazing. We'll come on to the odds in a second. That sort of makes up the top half of the draw, Podoroska. And then you have Korpash, who's the winner last year. She's got a very, very tough opener against Is it Avansayan? How do you pronounce that?
Avansayan, yeah.
Avanasayan.
She beat Zachary in Melbourne. She beat Maria Zachary.
Well, Avansayan, she's got a tough first match against Korpash, and then she plays Podoroska or Towson. In the bottom half of the draw, the number 5 seed is Kochereta and Blinkova, and then you have Tomova and Tara Maria, and also in that section, in that bottom quarter is Pliskova. Who is obviously the form horse, or not the proven player of the tournament as well. So on the breakdown of the draw, I mean, we'll come on to the draw in a little while. It's probably seems a little bit more of an advantage to be in the bottom half rather than the top half. I would say the top half is probably a little bit tougher. But let's have a look at the odds here. And this is quite amazing, really, because the 3 top favourites in this tournament aren't even seeded. The top favourite is Clara. Favourite of the tournament is Clara Towson at plus 390. The Dane is obviously a player that's high on our radar here, but at plus 390, I couldn't back better with your money, Rory. Pliskova is plus 450. She's older than me and Rory. Then we have Parks at 11, Blinkova 12, Kochereta 12, Sigmund at 14, Bogdan at 16, and Titania Maria at 16 to 1. Then we go into sort of bigger prices, those. Give us your sort of analysis of the draw. Where do you see the sort of the weakest part of this bracket?
I mean, I think what you're right in saying that the bottom half is weaker, but I mean, who could you trust with your money in the bottom half? I mean, Lara Siegemund has a good record in this. She's more of a double specialist nowadays. Kocheretto, you mentioned, Elisabetta Kocheretto, she is getting a bit of a reputation for being unable to close out matches. In Hobart, she was 6-love, 4-love up on Yulia Putintseva and lost. Last week in Linz, she was a set and 4-2 up on the defending champion, Anastasia Potapova, and lost. Anna Blinkova and Pliskova, probably the favourites out of the bottom half. Pliskova, just... Obviously, her serve's an asset, but as I say, the courts are so slow here. I just don't think. I mean, she's really short. I'm really surprised at how short she is for this tour, and I don't want to go anywhere near her here because, as I say, just the conditions are so slow. Out of the bottom half, you mentioned Victoria Tomova, and I think she could go well, but it's a very, very tentative. She's $40, so she's my pick from the bottom half, just a half point each way play. But I mean, you could pick 6 or 7 of these and not pick the winner of the bottom half. It's really trappy. It's very, very, very open. Just who can adapt to the conditions best? As I say, slow conditions. You need a lot of patience.
I think if you look at the betting, really, the fade is the front 2 favourites. I mean, I know Clara Towson is someone that we rate very highly, but plus 390 when she plays a seed who's going to be who like the slow conditions in the world, Podoroska. I think that's a really, really tough, crazy price, really. I think that's being priced on reputation rather than anything else. Pliskova also a fade as well. So it looks as though there's nothing really. I can't see anything between the people in this tournament, players at this tournament, around about 33 to 1 compared to the favourites at plus 390. So there's got to be value quite a way down on the market here, I would have thought.
To be honest, I do like Towson top half. I just don't think there's anyone in the top half that's going to trouble her. I think she'd like it quicker.
Though, Roy. It's 390 for an unseeded player who's. I know she's playing well.
I mean, we'll look at the other tournament as well. I think Towson's a better favourite here than Rybakina in Abu Dhabi, personally, and we'll go into that later. I think Towson at 390 is a far better price than Pliskova at plus 450. I mean, Pliskova's definitely my fade. I mean, Towson. I mean, she took Ostapenko all the way, and Ostapenko steamrolled in Linz. And Linz isn't especially quick. It's indoors as well. And Towson is very, very good indoors. She's got a great record indoors. She's won WTA tournaments, reached finals. I think she reached, was it a 250 in Courmayeur, and she lost to Donna Vekic a couple of years back. Her serve was working well. Plenty of power, good backhand slice. There's no one of Ostapenko's quality in this field. In her quarter, I mean, the only ones I could really look at, Sevastova and Korpach in her quarter. In the rest of the top half, Anna Bogdan might go well. She's obviously, you mentioned she's a home player. But if Towson's anywhere close to her best, I think she goes all the way to the final and wins this. So I see the price is shorter than I would have hoped, but I think she's by far the best player in this field. I mean, Alicia Parks is, she won an indoor tournament last year in Lyon, but they were much quicker conditions than these. She's not in great form, and I can't have her. I mean, so, that's 3 of the top 4 in the market. We've kind of put a line through. Blinkova could be interesting in the bottom half, but she's just not the most consistent. So for me, Towson, and I'll stick to each way as well for her. I think, plus 390, you've still just about got enough for an each way bet. So I'll have Towson at plus 390, 1 point each way, and Tomova half a point each way at $40. But it's one of those tournaments where it won't take a hell of a lot of winning, and I think Towson should be too good for these.
I quite like the lady I mentioned at the beginning, Avansayan, at 22-1. I mean, she beat Sakkari, reached the 3rd round of the Australian Open, got beat by Kostyuk in good form. Clara Towson at plus 390. I mean, they'll be scheduled to play each other probably in the quarterfinals if they meet that far, but I don't think there'll be much between the two in the betting on that one. I personally, I think I'm a huge fan of Clara Towson. I've mentioned it on this show and I've been podcast for many years now. She's obviously been blighted by injuries, but I just think at plus 390, I know it's a weak tournament, but I would be looking right down the list at the bottom, sort of big. You're going to look at the previous winners of this: Korpach, Blinkova, Kontaveit. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, Korpach is a big price at $30, and she plays Avanesyan first round. I think she is a big price. I just think Towson would have too much for her if they met.
But what price is Tomova? Sorry. What price is Tomova?
Tomova's $40 in the bottom.
That's the kind of bracket that
I like her for this, and it's just, I mean, that bottom half is so wide open. It's there's, and I think it's a theme for Abu Dhabi as well. We're still early in the season. If someone didn't get very far in the Australian Open, we kind of assume they're in no form. It takes obviously just one tournament and suddenly the player's in form. We haven't got much form to go on this year. So it just takes a player to string a couple of wins together, and then you never know.
So we're going to go for 2 players there. One is the tournament favourite, Clara Towson at plus 390. Is Rory's pick each way in the top half of the draw. And in the bottom half of the draw, we're going to go for Tomova at 40-1. So 2 spectrums, tournament favourite and a big outsider there. I mean, I think this is a tournament that can be won by anybody. I just think this is very wide open, and we'll see how it pans out over in Transylvania in the 250 WTA event. At the same time as that is 2 tournaments this week, the other tournament we have is Abu Dhabi, where we go for who's going to do well in Abu Dhabi. What's the tournament conditions like? What's the weather conditions going to be like in Abu Dhabi? I hope it's going to be nice and warm. I expect it to be pretty lovely. Perfect conditions, I'm guessing. This is a 500 event, and there are a lot more bigger names in action over in the Emirates than there are over in Transylvania. What are the conditions going to be like in Abu Dhabi, Rory?
Temperature-wise, they're going to be all right. Sort of not too hot, actually. Quite cool for normal standards around that part of the world. Sort of early 70s Fahrenheit, 22 degrees Celsius all week. But, and it's a big but, it's due to be very windy for the first 3 or 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're looking at, the forecast says winds of 9-10 meters per second, which equates to, in old money, 25 miles per hour or 35 kilometers per hour. That's pretty windy. And that's going to affect players. Now, some of you might remember the WTA finals in Cancun at the end of last season. And Jelena Rybakina, who's the tournament favourite, the top seed, she was really troubled by the wind in practice. She doesn't like it at all. And she's got a really tough opener. Whoever gets through, she gets a bye in the first round, but her first match will be against either Naomi Osaka or Danielle Collins. Doesn't come much tougher than that. She'll probably win the tournament at Cantor now, but I'm not a player at the odds that she's at. Court speed wise, serving is key. It's quick. Last year, it played sixth fastest on the WTA Tour for the stats: 72.8% service hold and 66.7% points won on first serve. So it was quick. And we know it was quick in Brisbane, where Rybakina smashed Marina Sabalenka in the final. So she is the rightful favourite. But as I say, I'm a bit worried about the weather for her. And she could meet Ostapenko in the quarterfinals, who, if she isn't tired, she's the form player at present. So for me, there are reasons to oppose the favourite.
Well, as Rory said there is buys for the top 4 in the tournament. So the top 4 seeds are through to the last 16. The top 4 seeds are Rybakina, is the number 1 seed. The number 2 seed here is Ons Jabeur, who's very disappointing at the Australian Open. The number 3 seed is Sakkari, and Sakkari on Ons Jabeur in the bottom half of the draw. In the top half of the draw, the seeded players are Rybakina and Krejcikova, who both progress through to round 16. If it goes to the schedule, the bracket would be Rybakina against Ostapenko, Krejcikova against Samsonova, Kasatkina against Sakkari, Haddad Maia against Ons Jabeur. And just looking at this draw, Rory, it's much weaker in the bottom half, this one.
Oh yeah, it's far weaker.
Yeah.
it's so unbalanced, this draw. It's untrue. I mean, to say, I said earlier about out of form players, and it seems that there are a lot of out of form players in the bottom half. But as I say, there's not too much form to go on. Yeah, and that's another reason to oppose Rybakina. Partly the weather. I mean, the wind, I don't think she'll like the conditions early on. I mean, the wind's due to calm down a bit by Thursday, Friday. But she could already be out by then. And, first up, Osaka or Collins. I mean, it's tough. Ostapenko's in that top half. I mean, Samsonova is out of form, but she reached the final last year. Badosa pulled out injured last week. She's in the second quarter. Mentioned Ostapenko's in that top quarter. Krejcikova showed signs that she might be finding her touch again in Melbourne before going out to Sabalenka. Veronika Kudermetova, she's in that second quarter as well. She did reach the final here in 2021, losing to Sabalenka. She obviously made another early exit. The bottom half, as you mentioned, Jabeur, she was taken to the woodshed by Miran Dreva in Melbourne. She'll have plenty of support in Abu Dhabi, but Marie Bauskova or Emma Raducanu in round 2 could present her with problems. Sakkari gets a bye, as you mentioned. She faces either Caroline Garcia or Sorana Cîrstea in round 2. Garcia, it's so strange because her serve worked so well against Osaka in the first round of the Australian Open, and then she went out very tamely to Magdalena Frech. If she's a player who, if she can get her serve work, she could go a long way here. I like Beatriz Haddad-Maia, the Brazilian. She beat Rybakina in the quarterfinals last year.
Before we go, let's have a look at the outright markets.
Yeah. Let's look at the odds.
Rybakina is plus 240 to win it all. Last year it was won by Belinda Bencic. So she's a fade for you at plus 240.
Absolutely. As I say, those, top half is much tougher. Osaka or Collins first up. Could be windy, could be horrible conditions for her. She's a definite fade at plus 240.
And this is her reappearance since that epic tiebreak match that she had. Yeah, that epic tiebreak at the Australian Open when she got beat. Who did she? Astromenska, wasn't it?
Blinkova.
Blinkova.
Yeah.
So Rybakina is the plus 240 favourite. Krejcikova is $6. On Jabeur, 7. On Jabeur is in the bottom half of the draw, but on Jabeur, I wouldn't bet him. I wouldn't trust her at the moment. She's going to, like Rory said, she's going to have a huge amount of support over in Abu Dhabi, but really on her current game, she's never a 7's one shot. Zachary is 7. 750. Ostapenko's in great form, but she's travelling from Austria to the Emirates. Not that much of a travel, really. Not much, probably a 6.5-hour flight or so. But then we have Osaka at 12-1. Hadadmire at 14, as Rory's quite keen on. Kazatkina at 14. Kudameta at 16 and Garcia at 20. I want to be on the bottom half of the draw. Rory wants to be on the bottom half of the draw. And as he said there, he's got a lean towards Hadadmire, and he's going to tell you the reasons why now.
Yeah, she reached the semis last year, beat Rebecca in the quarterfinals. Lefty serve, quick surface. She's won tournaments on grass. She does like fast conditions, and she's in the weaker part of the draw. I mean, looking at her potential path, it's not the most difficult. She's got another lefty, Zhiyu Wang, in round 1. And then in round 2, Magda Linette, who was a first round casualty in Thailand last week, or Andrea Ayala of the Philippines in round 2. It'll almost certainly be Linette. And then in the quarterfinals, on Jabeur or Marie Bauskova. I mean, and then in the semis, it's either Garcia or Kazatkina or Zachary. It's not the hardest path through to a final. And who knows who will come through that top half. Obviously, Rebecca is the favourite, but we've discussed why I'm opposing her. I do like Hadadmire at $14 each way bet 1 point. I think she didn't have the best Australian Open. She went out to a very promising Russian youngster in Timofeyeva, but Timofeyeva, who came from nowhere, I think it's Budapest last year. She came from absolutely nowhere to win that tournament, and she was just on her game, and Hadadmire wasn't quite up to it. She hasn't got much to deal with in the first 2 rounds, and I think anyone who gets to the sort of quarterfinals has got a chance in this, especially in that very, very open bottom half. And I think the conditions will suit her better than most. The wind, she doesn't have a particularly high ball toss, so I don't think she'll be too affected by the wind. She can get that lefty serve going. I think she can go a long way.
The Hadadmire is the pick at 14-1 in that very easier bottom half of the bracket in the draw there. I quite like Garcia at 20s, Rory. I thought
she's probably my second pick from that bottom half of the draw. I have to say I was torn between the two. First up isn't easy against Castilla, and then Zachary in round 2. It's tough. That's kind of what, but she is a bigger price. I mean, that's factored into the price.
Well, I should say, am I stupid to have a small, very small each way play on Raducanu at 50s?
I don't think she'll get past Bauskova, to be honest.
I think on Jabeur is the week here. I think I think the Rybakina at 240 is very short, as you said, but I think on Jabeur at 7. I mean, yeah, I'd want to be posing Jabeur, and I just think in that kind of that's my sort of angle to oppose Jabeur here.
Yeah, so she's right at the bottom of the draw. Second round, she'll face Bauskova or Raducanu, and then probably Hadadmire. I mean, if she doesn't lose to Bauskova, I think she'll probably lose to Hadadmire.
Interesting. Definitely the value in that bottom half of the draw, much, much weaker. Trying to pick someone to make the final. Remember, Bet Rivers offer you the half the odds 1-2. Bet Rivers also allow you to watch every single match on a WTA Tour. You can watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. So head to the Bet Rivers website. 28 different markets available on these matches. Have a bet on the match and be able to watch the action live on your tablet or your mobile device or your home computer. The matches in Abu Dhabi will start at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. So make sure you get across to the Bet Rivers website and place your bets nice and early because it's a 4 a.m. start. We're waiting for the order of play in Transylvania. The order of play hasn't come out yet, so we'll wait and see that. But it'll be starting around tomorrow, probably about 7 a.m. Eastern time. So just head to the Bet Rivers website before you place your bets. Remember, there's a few ways to follow all the content that we've got here. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios. Huge amount of subscribers on that over the last month or so. Thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe, get an alert every time any one of our excellent content drops from one of our fantastic handicappers. You can follow us on our social media accounts at becausewewin, which is on Twitter and also on Instagram. A lot of content on Instagram at the moment. We're up in our levels on Instagram. You'll be able to see some content from our handicappers around the sporting events over the next sort of 3 or 4 months or so. So it's going to become great content exclusive on the Instagram account. And obviously you can download the podcast Betting Weekly WTA on your preferred podcast provider. So Rory, we have 2 picks in Transylvania. If you can just give us a quick rundown on the 2 picks.
So main pick, Clara Tolson, tournament favourite, plus 390, 1 point each way, and a half a point each way on Victoria Tomova at $40. And then in Abu Dhabi, 1 point each way on Beatrice Haddad-Maia at $14.
There you have it. So favourite backers, we've got you covered. Underdog betters, we've got you covered. And middle of the road betters, we've got you covered as well. 3 selections at varying different prices there. Rory, thanks very much for joining us as always on a Sunday. Good to speak to you, my friend. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll catch. Where are we next week? We're in Dubai. Are we in Dubai next week? Is it?
Oh, is it Dubai already?
Dubai?
Yeah, it could be.
It's the week before the men's, and the men's starts 2 weeks. I think it must go to Dubai.
Yeah, I know it's Qatar. It's Doha. First.
Oh, and then we go to Dubai.
Then Dubai.
I stayed in the...
But both 1,000 tournament next week, so all the big guns will be back next week.
Yeah, so some brilliant action coming. I stayed in the street by the tennis courts in Qatar. I was at the World Cup.
All right.
So some great content coming, some big tennis heading your way as we build up to some really exclusive action. And then we have the big American tournaments over at Indian Wells and in Miami as well. So lots of coverage on the tennis here. Thank you very much for everyone subscribing. Thank you very much. Give us a like, give us a comment. Any questions you want answered, put it down in the comment box. We will answer your questions. If you've got a bet or you've got a fade, we want to hear what you like. If you like a tournament winner, who are you going to put your money on? Let us know on the comments below. Lots of content, I say, coming away. Myself and Sean Calvert will be back also a little bit later. If you haven't watched it, watch the ATP Tour show. Some 3 tournaments this week on the ATP Tour, and we'll have that covered as well on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. Rory, for now, take care, mate, and have a great week.